So really excited to have some of our DAOs already here, and yeah, can't wait to dive deeper into what you're all working on at the moment. Just to lay out the agenda for this call, we'll kick off with updates from Molecule itself and touch on the latest initiatives being the DeSci Podcast and the Contributors Program. From there, I'll happily be handing over to our ValleyDAO friends who are joining us tonight. Before we officially begin, I'd like to just say today officially marks 1 year since Molecule funded its first ever IP-NFT together with VitaDAO. If you look at I'll quickly pin it to the above to the spaces, but if you go and look at the Etherscan transaction on Etherscan, so I've just pinned it above, you'll see that it's right now like exactly 24 hours ago, exactly 1 year ago to the hour, to the minute, that VitaDAO and Molecule funded this first ever biopharma in IP-NFT. So happy anniversary to us. On this note, we're also celebrating that 2 weeks ago, for the first time ever, the first US IP-NFT was funded. And this research focused on oral health with Dr. Jonathan An at the University of Washington in Seattle. Let me also pin that if anyone wants to read more. I think the transfer ceremony is a must watch, and someone on this call actually, I can also pin that in a second. Esha Bora, she wrote a very good summary of the process that Dr. Ann went through with the TTO being the first project at his university to be funded this way, and how obviously everyone was skeptical at the start, but yeah, after a few months of delving into how it works, I think Dr. Ann is happy that he made that choice to go with Molecule and VitaDAO's funding. Now let's officially get started. Over the past few months, we've been working on an internal project released as a project on its own called the DeSci Podcast, and we're currently recording our third episode. And I spent the first episode with VitaDAO celebrating their 1 year birthday. Now, a few weeks later, celebrating their first IP-NFT that they funded. A really remarkable short amount of time. Our second episode was with Balaji. We talked about the future of DeSci and his new book, of course, The Network State. I think it's called The Network State. Don't quote me on that. But on this note, we're always also on the lookout for new guests for the podcast. So if you have any ideas in mind for people possibly at the intersection of Web3 and biotech, so we call it DeSci, decentralized science, please email podcast at molecule.to. Then our other internal project, which we'll soon launch, is the Molecule branding, and it's the Molecule Contributors Program. We also always need a lot of help. There's a lot that we want to build and a big vision that we have to be a DAO of DAOs. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Izon to talk us through what this means and how you can get involved. Thanks, Izon. Oh, and I need to make you a speaker. Just a second, where you can request to become a speaker. If you're on mobile, there you are. Approved.
Thank you very much, Heinrich. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. So, I am Izan, and
the Molecule Contributors Program. We also always need a lot of help. There's a lot that we want to build and a big vision that we have to be a DAO of DAOs. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Izon to talk us through what this means and how you can get involved. Thanks, Izon. Oh, and I need to make you a speaker. Just a second, where you can request to become a speaker. If you're on mobile, there you are. Approved.
Thank you very much, Heinrich. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. So, yeah, I am Izan, and we've been working on this project for some time now. And although we're not officially launching it, we will be launching it within the first week of September. But I wanted to just share with everyone what we have in mind and how you can get involved. Yeah. So basically, on a high level, we are opening up some of the working groups within Molecule, and the idea is to have people from the community, very talented individuals that we come across on a day-to-day basis, to have these individuals join us and contribute to the work that we do and contribute to the larger DeSci ecosystem. So this will work in a couple of different phases. Maybe I should start with the working groups that will open. So at first, we may open some of the working groups at a later stage as well, but at first, the majority of the working groups that will open will be the R&D working group, community and marketing, our legal working group, and then also our ecosystem working group. Now, we will share with you within the first week of September exactly what this means. But what I can tell you now is to be on the lookout for the official launch of the program. And basically, how it will work is within these working groups, we ideally want people to come on. And then we will have, for instance, bounties within specific working groups, but it may be that a project is not equipped or adequate to link to a bounty specifically. And it may also be that we think we need something, but someone from the community actually has more experience and can introduce us with a brand new project. And so we don't want to be too rigid based on bounties, but we will also be open to hear from the community if you have any project within any of those working groups that you would want to pursue. It may include, for instance, writing scientific content for us, helping us maybe write a blog post, just on DeSci, for instance. It can also include, for instance, on a legal perspective, it can include helping to negotiate the terms of a contract, for instance, with the TTO. So it will be broad. But more information, as I said, will be shared as soon as we officially launch the program. If you want to know more about it, just stay tuned. But we are looking forward to having you contribute to this program, and we can't wait. So thanks, Heinrich. If there's anything else, I will still be around till the end. So when we have the Q&A session, if anyone just wants to ask anything around this that you think I have maybe missed, just I will be around, so just let me know. Thanks.
Thanks, Izan. Yeah, we really want to be the go-to for BioDAOs who need support, whether it be legal support, funding support, tokenomics, whatever. We want to be that go-to. So that's why we're really excited to hand over to our guests to see also what other DAOs like VitaDAO, PsyDAO, ValleyDAO, AthenaDAO are working on, and also how people can get involved in those DAOs. Because ultimately you need the DAO that's the best fit for you. It might not be, it might not be Molecule, but you might have a huge interest in synthetic biology or women's reproductive health or whatever, and we want to help also people in our community and link them with those DAOs, or connect them rather. So with that, let's work in the following order as per the agenda. I'll give it to PsyDAO and then ValleyDAO and then AthenaDAO. In a particular order, but I think let's open the floor after that and start with Matt from PsyDAO. So Matt, if you can please take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and walk us through what PsyDAO is and what your roadmap is and how others can get involved. Thanks, Matt.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Heinrich, for the warm welcome. Happy to have everyone here. My name is Matt. I've been working with PsyDAO since DeSci Berlin, so almost exactly 3 months, working as the unofficial chief of staff. For those of you who are just hearing about PsyDAO or not familiar with our mission, PsyDAO is a collective working to decentralize and democratize psychedelics. One way we've been languaging that is to be the Gitcoin for psychedelics. And one other aspect of PsyDAO I think is important is that it's not just a science piece, although that's a big major driver of it. It's also about expanding access and awareness. So we feel that we'll draw the usual suspects within, say, Web3 and DeSci and psychedelics, but we'll also draw, far beyond just the science and the research, and also hope to engage a broader audience through in real life as well as digital events and art and experiences. So that's what PsyDAO is at a high level. In terms of what's been happening these past 3 months, a lot of the formational things. So as many of you probably know, we are incubated by Molecule. We've received a $100,000 USDC grant, the first tranche of which has been put into our multi-sig, which has been established and is connected to PsyDAO.eth. So you can go to Etherscan and look it up yourself if you like. And so, yeah, it's a lot of this formational pieces are being put in place. The multi-sig is set up. We're putting our DAO tooling in place. So working, setting up D-work, setting up clarity, starting to work on putting out more bounties, establishing the working groups, and engaging our community more. We had our first community town hall on Twitter Spaces about a week ago, and we'll be having those every other week. So we've been gaining some traction in our Discord and continuing to put all these pieces in place. And so there's actually lots to do. And I think one of the main things we're working on now is how can we pick up the pace for onboarding and getting more of the community involved. So if this whole intersection of Web3 meets DeSci meets psychedelics is something that you are interested in, there's lots of room. It's very early at PsyDAO. So if you go into the Discord and once you've verified, you kind of look at the about channel, you'll see the link in there to the Airtable. I don't know if that's something you can pin, Heinrich, the Airtable link to the Get Involved. And we're actively reviewing this Get Involved form, and seeing who's raising their hand, what are their superpowers, how do they want to contribute to PsyDAO, and so we can figure out the best way to get them involved. And we've been also getting some support from Johannes from Molecule, so we can actually put some automations and make this process go a little bit more smoothly for those of you that want to get engaged. Other than that, you may have noticed that we actually have a new website and a new manifesto video. So if you haven't seen those, please do check it out, PsyDAO.io. And again, a big shout out to everyone at Molecule, in particular, Sai and Raul and Vincent and Brittany and many others who contributed to the cause. It's a fantastic big step for us. And what else should I mention? We are in the process of applying for we have applied for the Seed Club Accelerator, their next batch, SCO5. So if any of you are club holders, you can go view and you can comment on our application. We happen to be, out of 203 applicants, we are the number one boosted project that has applied to be in this next cohort, which I think is really great validation that PsyDAO is committed to something that a lot of people see as important and enthusiastic about. In terms, I think I've covered most of the roadmap, but I think a couple other things that'll be important as we approach these next weeks and months. I think the big piece is going to be looking at governance. So we're actively working on the light paper. We're thinking a lot about, would we do quadratic, funding for the research projects? We're thinking about tokenomics. We're thinking about how can we best structure the DAO in a way that truly lives up to our mission of making psychedelics unmonopolizable. So I think the formal DAO formation and the token launch is still a bit in the future, but we're putting all the groundwork in to make sure that we get that right and that it's values aligned with our mission and our purpose in the world. So I think I'll stop there. I probably have run out for my 5 minutes, and yeah, thank you. And please feel free. My DMs are open if you have any questions. You can also find me on the Discord. And yeah, thank you for listening and hearing what's new and what's happening with PsyDAO.
Thank you so much, Matt. Yeah, if I just pinned the PsyDAO involvement form, but I would highly encourage everyone to first actually join the Discord or check out the website and to see what it's all about. And if it's for you, the website is PsyDAO.io or PsyDAO.com, redirects to PsyDAO.io. So just PSYDAO.io. Read the manifesto, watch the video, join the Discord. Yeah, and I've also just pinned the involvement form. If anyone wants, we also have Gustav on the call. Gustav, I don't know if you want to add anything in terms of, yeah, also what you're working on. If Matt may have missed something, yeah, feel free to unmute him.
Yeah, I think Matt had it covered, pretty succinct. But as you said, we're ramping things up a lot. So if you're feeling inspired or encouraged, please come check out our server. DM us. We'd love to talk.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gustav. Yeah, with that, Hamza, would you also talk us through what ValleyDAO is, yeah, and how people can get involved? And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks Heinrich and Izan for organizing first. I can start us off. So I'm Hamza. I'm on the ops team at VitaDAO, also slowly doing more and more governance there. Founded with Albert and Dan here, ValleyDAO earlier this year, and I've worked with a lot of people here, including Laura. So I'm glad to see that she has her own project now. They're very cool. So before I talk about ValleyDAO, I just want to quickly talk about something else, which is slightly more general. A type 1 civilization. So a type 1 civilization is defined as a civilization that controls all energy or can harness all energy that falls on its planet, right? I would like to define it slightly differently. So a type 1 civilization is the one, that has complete mastery of earthly elements. And since the earth includes humans, it not only means mastery of oneself, but also all the external elements, so the elements within and the elements without, which is just an archaic way of saying the external elements. And if you really take a step back and think about it, we are all kind of working for the same goal. We are pushing ourselves closer and closer to a type 1 civilization. I think in the latter half of the last century, scientists calculated that we are a 0.7 civilization. So we are not a type 1, but we are pretty close, which is good. Which is a good sign. So, when I look at projects like PsyDAO, VitaDAO, and AthenaDAO, they're working on the elements within, and ValleyDAO is working on the external elements, or the element, or some of the, the without elements. Okay, so what the hell is ValleyDAO? Well, we are democratizing SynBio, or more specifically, climate SynBio IP, and what that means is that you take something naturally occurring biology, like an organism, you take it to your lab, modify its DNA, and suddenly it's producing clean oil. So you're not relying on blowing stuff up and taking things out of the ground. You're instead, have complete mastery over some of the external earthly elements. In this case, production of energy and other life forms that are non-human in nature. So this is just one example of what climate biotech means here. Another point I just want to emphasize is that, we are kind of working on sort of different elements, as I mentioned before, and it's kind of like writing one book. We are just working on different chapters, and I see, organizations like Molecule and Bio XYZ incubation program as organizations, whose role is to make sure that we never run out of ink, to make sure that the reservoirs never sort of dry up. So at ValleyDAO, we kind of like to call ourselves growers because we are growing professionally, personally, and also as a community, and of course pushing ourselves towards a type 1 civilization, which I hope is a coveted state. We also like to say that we are sowing the seeds of life in the valley of death. Now, before the conversation turns unexpectedly biblical, I would like Albert to jump in and talk about more sort of practical stuff, roadmap, and especially how to get involved. So Heinrich, if you could give him access, that would be fantastic.
No need. Yeah, I'm here, and thank you for that, Hamza. I really like all of the metaphors and the way you put it. So I'm Albert. I'm one of the founders of ValleyDAO. I have a background in synthetic biology and biobusiness development. And before we get into like what we have like ahead of us, I would just like to rewind the tape a little bit back to around January when this kind of all started. And I found it like really cool that the whole DAO concept, that you can just start setting up a community and you can start working towards like a common thing. Finding the molecule servers, finding the VitaDAO service, and I thought to myself, like, why is no one tackling the problem of synthetic biology intellectual property? So I basically started, reading more or less every Discord message in the VitaDAO group, and managed to put together, a group chat of 15 people, and then it just like naturally growed. So that was really cool, and really proves that anyone with an idea, a convincing idea, can really put together a group of people and start working towards something. What's happened besides that is we started talking with some really interesting researchers that are crazy enough to get funding from a DAO. So that has been really cool to see. And talking about some of the projects that we aim to fund after we've done our fundraising and our token launch and all of that. One of them being is we're looking at very kind of like platformish technologies in the synbio space that can benefit many companies and as many researchers, as many startups as possible. And one of these projects is about the biomanufacturing of lipids and the improved extraction process from those microorganisms. And with lipids, you can do so many different things. It's in basically every food product. It can be used in industry. It can be used for fuels. So we've been, I don't know if lucky is the right word to use here, but lucky to find these kinds of researchers that believe in the concept and are looking for a more community approach to their research. And what I found really cool is that researchers are very open to hear other people's input. So the Dealflow group, which I want to really give a huge shout out to, has worked as kind of like an extension of those researchers and helped them in doing various kinds of due diligence, looking at the commercial opportunity, and that has been really appreciated. So we have a couple of other projects as well, but I don't want to spend too much time talking about that. Another thing that we have ahead of us is in quarter 3 and 4 is to really focus on building out the community and ensuring that once we launch the governance token, that it's actually being used by people for voting. Otherwise, what is the purpose of creating a DAO really if you don't have any active participation? So we're spending a lot of time onboarding people, doing one-on-one calls, and we've noticed that works really well. We get the chance to explain everything in detail. I don't know how sustainable that is in the long term, but given the growth rate that we have at ValleyDAO now, it's working out quite well for us. What else? Yeah, I mean, just finding those quality research projects. I want to give a big shout out to Maximund, who's been really helpful in making those first introductions to researchers. And all of those introductions, we've started working with these researchers. And also, big shout out to Dan, who's worked with spearheading many of these initiatives as well. And of course, Hamza, who's I'm really grateful that he is in the team. Having that VitaDAO insight has really helped us in organizing everything, creating the different work groups, and so on. I think I'm going to stop there. I mean, the final thing on the roadmap is fundraising, and we're aiming to do we're going to do a private round for the fundraising, followed by a community launch. It's a different approach to VitaDAO, but I think like a private round can really help in kick-starting those first research projects and getting them funded rapidly. So yeah, I'm gonna stop there. Or actually, I should maybe go into how to get involved. It's it's the classic process, really, like as with all the DeSci DAOs. Like, welcome to the Discord. You can find us at ValleyDAO.bio, so www.valleydao.bio. There you can find the light paper, the link to the Discord, and so on. So if you want to work with projects and a group of people that are in the cross section of biotechnology and how to use biotechnology to solve various climate issues, ValleyDAO is kind of your DAO. So yeah, I welcome everybody, and yeah, thank you for giving us the chance to talk at this Twitter space.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Hamza, and thanks, Albert. Yeah, it was amazing meeting you at the DeSci Berlin after party, and yeah, like just hearing more on your background and seeing that ValleyDAO is really legit can be hard to filter the good projects if you're just finding them on Twitter. But yeah, meeting you face to face was really useful for me, and yeah, also interesting to see a lot of these DAOs coming out of and people coming from VitaDAO, people like Vincent now actively involved in Molecule, and PsyDAO, Hamza from VitaDAO, and Albert, you as well. Another such member is Laura, of course, which is also core to VitaDAO, and she's now gone more into also still longevity, but more specifically female reproductive health, I think. Laura, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, and we'd also just love to hear about your roadmap and how you can get involved. And yeah, do you need to be basically into female reproductive health to join, or am I butchering it? Over to you, Laura.
Thanks, Hendrik. No, you're not butchering it. Thank you so much for having me here. I am very happy to be with this group of people. A lot of you I had the pleasure of meeting in person at DeSci Berlin, and a lot of you I've known over some time from our online interaction. So as you said, I am a contributor to VitaDAO because of my advocacy work in longevity. And I've been doing that for the past.
So yeah, I'm gonna stop there. Or actually, I should maybe go into how to get involved. It's the classic process, really, like as with all the DeSci DAOs. Like, welcome to the Discord. You can find us at ValleyDAO.bio, so www.valleydao.bio. There you can find the light paper, the link to the Discord, and so on. So if you want to work with projects and a group of people that are in the cross section of biotechnology and how to use biotechnology to solve various climate issues, ValleyDAO is kind of your DAO. So yeah, I welcome everybody, and yeah, thank you for giving us the chance to talk at this Twitter space.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Hamza, and thanks, Albert. Yeah, it was amazing meeting you at the DeSci Berlin after party, and yeah, like just hearing more on your background and seeing that ValleyDAO is really legit can be hard to filter the good projects if you're just finding them on Twitter. But yeah, meeting you face to face was really useful for me, and yeah, also interesting to see a lot of these DAOs coming out of and people coming from VitaDAO, people like Vincent now actively involved in Molecule, and PsyDAO, Hamza from VitaDAO, and Albert, you as well. Another such member is Laura, of course, which is also core to VitaDAO, and she's now gone more into also still longevity, but more specifically female reproductive health, I think. Laura, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, and we'd also just love to hear about your roadmap and how you can get involved. And yeah, do you need to be basically into female reproductive health to join, or am I butchering it? Over to you, Laura.
Thanks, Hendrik. No, you're not butchering it. Thank you so much for having me here. I am very happy to be with this group of people. A lot of you I had the pleasure of meeting in person at DeSci Berlin, and a lot of you I've known over some time from our online interaction. So as you said, I am a contributor to VitaDAO because of my advocacy work in longevity. And I've been doing that for the past, I would say, 6 months very actively. And I was very impressed with what they've been able to achieve, this Web3 model. With that said, I did think that longevity and reproductive health, or reproductive health and longevity, are very similar in the sense that they are areas in biotech that are usually underfunded and under-researched. The longevity thing is one thing, but the thing for reproductive health, I find that it's kind of crazy given that women make up half of the population of the world. The other thing that I notice while being at VitaDAO is that Web3 is very male-centric, and I'm not blaming the man here. It's just how it is. And I think that has to do that the mechanisms are not there to onboard women in areas that necessarily interest them. So I think the reproductive health is something that interests every woman because it's part of our journey in life. And it's also something that should be interesting to men, given that reproductive health is something that affects population. And I don't know if you guys know, but we are seeing a decline. So with that said, I met some of the women in areas that necessarily interest them. So I think the reproductive health is something that interests every woman because it's part of our journey in life. And it's also something that should be interesting to men, given that reproductive health is something that affects population. And I don't know if you guys know, but we are seeing a decline. So with that said, I met some of the amazing women in Web3 at DeSci Berlin, like Asan, who's here, Sandra, who's part of the Molecule team, Ines. I know a lot of the researchers because of a lot of the advocacy work that I do, interviewing them, talking to them, trying to promote them, and decided that it would be amazing if we did something similar. I guess we're an alumni of VitaDAO, Molecule, and get something going that is focused on women's health, and particularly reproductive health. So with that said, we are just very early days. We do have an amazing team. We have an amazing scientific advisory board. Dr. Jennifer Garrison of the Consortium for Reproductive Longevity is on board to lead us in helping us guide our research categories and how we're going to onboard researchers. We also count with the support of our friends at VitaDAO. A lot of them have been incredibly supportive already, and our friends are molecules, so we're very grateful about that. And on our roadmap, what we have going is our first thing out is going to be a public good, which is a reproductive health report that we're doing with the consortium. And we're potentially also collaborating with VitaDAO and Foresight Institute. Erin King, who's the director of research there, is going to be doing also a paper, and we're probably going to publish something all together so that we're not duplicating or replicating efforts, and we're able to put out something that is meaningful. It's kind of a state of the union of where research should go, or where the consortium is going to focus in the next 12 to 24 months and how we can actually support that. With that said, we are starting a lot of our community building. So on the 20th, we have our first panel. I think Heinrich posted it up on the chat. So if some of you would like to join, that would be amazing. We also have our first AMA with our scientist leads, Dr. Di Hu and Maria Marinova, who's also a contributor to VitaDAO. So I think one of the amazing things is that in this new ecosystem, there's going to be an opportunity for a lot of collaboration. And if there's something that we should do is make sure that we're not replicating efforts, and that our projects can work in tandem with each other, so that capital and energy allocation are always going towards better science and funding more researchers. What else do I want to say? Would love for people to join our Discord. And we're starting our actually working group. We're going to have our working groups being developed in the next 2 months. And I'm not a big fan of Discord, to be honest, because it takes a lot of know-how to how to animate it. There's nothing worse than arriving at a Discord where nothing happens. But some of the things that we're going to do is we're going to focus having our AMAs on the Discord, and obviously trying to run more of the content there. So slowly we're going to do that. And this is not just for women. We want to have also men participate. Our scientific advisory board has 3 men. And one of the big things that one of our advisors said, don't just make it all women, because you create the reverse discrimination. And as I said, reproductive health affects us all. We tweeted yesterday a very good article on how men fertility is starting to be a problem. And it's something that we should also pay attention to. So eventually we're also going to be looking at that. With that said, I'm not sure if I covered all the points or roadmap. what we're looking for. We are also going to be in like ValleyDAO racing privately first. I think it's a bear market, and the great going to market that happened with VitaDAO is going to be very difficult to replicate in the next little while in the current market. We are going to have a selection of projects by the end of October. So we'd like to already have some sort of funding to go to market. I mean, I can obviously launch with the selection of projects. So there's no other way to do it than to fundraise, and we're sort of already doing that. So we're looking for supporters. We're looking for more researchers to join our project and to collaborate with other DAOs, obviously. And you can find us at AthenaDAO.co. You can also join our Twitter. We have our Discord, which is listed on our Twitter. We also have an onboarding form. If you don't like going on Discord, or first AMA with our scientists is going to be on Zoom. So we're going to be trying different platforms for different people and usability to see what works the best and how we can really work the best with the researchers and scientists. Our other big thing that I want to mention is that one of our biggest missions is trying to get women onboarded to Web3. And there's an aspect of working in education tools that are interesting for women and connecting them to research for them to learn more about what's going on. And that's why our first thing out, the reproductive health report, is not going to be solely focused only on talking about the science, but how we communicate that science so that anybody can read that report and could also get more involved or join our community, so that we actually start connecting what you call patients or women that are interested in their health with research and researchers. So bridging that gap. And that's a very important aspect of what we want to do. Well, thank you again for this opportunity to talk about what we're doing, and for having us here again, Hendrik, and the entire Molecule team that I love.
Thank you so much, Laura. Yeah, the panel on hormonal replacement therapy is next Thursday. Am I right?
Yes, or it's right up here. It's next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We have all the times there. And then our AMA with our scientists is via Zoom. The link is also on our Twitter, and that is on Wednesday, also at 3 p.m. But that's just on privately via Zoom, so everybody can get to know each other. And we talk about the type of translational research that we're looking for. I just want to mention that we are focusing first in some areas because reproductive health is so vast. And we're looking first at anything that obviously menopause, PCOS, and endometriosis. So starting with those three areas and then rolling it out from there.
Thank you, Laura. That was that all sounds amazing, and excited to see where this is going, and supporting you wherever we can. I'd like to now open the floor for questions for any of our BioDAOs on the call, and if you have questions about contributors program and how you can get involved with Molecule, also shoot now is the time. So I will be accepting speaking requests, and over to the audience. And I think the best way to do this is by raise of hands, and then just so we know what the order is. So I think shared ethos was first.
Hi, I actually had a question for PsyDAO. So you said you're funding, or you're trying to work with research. Well, you said psychedelics, but my question was, is it research, development of medicines, distribution? What kind of focus area, or is it just kind of all-encompassing psychedelic research?
I think now it's we're still kind of hammering out what exactly our strategy will be. This will be effectively, if you want to look at it, season 0 or season 1 when we launch the first tranche of research projects. So I think at first we're probably going to go pretty broad, and then it'll be a learning curve as we see how those go, and we'll have learnings along the way, I'm sure. But I think it'll be a pretty broad pipeline. I don't know if I think we might have some others on the call. I see Gustav is on the call. Lane, are you on the call as well? Lane has also been pretty active on our deal flow, so I don't know if he's still on the call or not. He was on earlier. Doesn't sound like he's still here. So, And if you have more questions, feel free to either DM me or engage, and I can connect you with people that are more hands-on with the research pipeline in our Discord.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks for your question, Morgan. Albert, you had your hand up.
Yeah, and this is also a question to.
Sorry, Albert, I accidentally muted you.
No worries. So question to PsyDAO. I'm really curious to hear how PsyDAO will interface or maybe collaborate with some of the already existing organizations working towards adoption of psychedelics in the clinics. So for example, MAPS, have you had any initial dialogues, and what are their impressions of you coming there saying you're a DAO and you have this ambition? Really curious to hear.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Albert, for your question. I think we've had fairly strong engagement both from the science or research, those active on the research side. And I know we've had some exploratory conversations with those more prominent players in the psychedelic space. Unfortunately, I'm not usually the one that's leading a lot of those conversations. Adam Goyer, who's really the chief steward or lead for the core team, he's actually traveling out of town for a friend, his best friend's wedding today, so he's unavailable, unfortunately. He's led some of those conversations, but I'd say overall the reception has been really strong, and I think we're going to be looking for strong partnerships and engagements and collaborations, probably across all three kind of the Venn diagram we overlap with. I think we'll be looking for really creative DAO-to-DAO collaborations around raising awareness and expanding kind of the public perception of psychedelics. We're also looking at, for instance, doing our own podcast, and Heinrich's been supporting some of that as well. So there's that piece. There's the traditional, I think, those who've been in the psychedelics field for a long time, that's MAPS or Beckley Institute and others, that we're also going to be certainly engaging with, and then those who are in doing the science and doing DeSci. So I think we'll be looking to collaborate all across the board. But right now, in terms of, there's no big announcements, I would say, yet, but I think we're still very much in the exploratory conversations and figuring out what to prioritize as we put the foundation in place.
Thank you for that.
Heinrich, I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying, so we've also lucky to have Tyler on the call, who has been in those calls with MAPS and Beckley. So yeah, we'd love to hear from Tyler as well. So as far as I know, the response has been phenomenal. Oh, Tyler, I'm sorry. It sounds like your AirPods or something are underwater. If you can maybe just try to get a different speaker. Perfect. Tyler, are you there? Okay.
Can you hear me now? Is that any better?
No, we can't.
Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. I'm having some issues with my audio. Yeah, I've been in some really nice conversations with the Beckley Foundation, and specifically Amanda Fielding, who's obviously a pioneer in the psychedelic space. Was good friends with Albert Hoffman, amongst others. Has been doing sort of pioneering work since the 60s, and she's been really excited about the model of PsyDAO, particularly because she's always been really trying to work with this open ethos around psychedelics. And I think one of the core values that we're trying to drive in PsyDAO as a community is this idea of really making psychedelics unmonopolizable. So this idea that, really trying to make psychedelic knowledge, psychedelic wherewithal available and democratized to the extent that it's possible, while still having some sort of model that enables the DAO to become sustainable. And this has definitely resonated a lot with some of the pioneers in the psychedelic space, who I think are somewhat skeptical and maybe at times cautious about the sort of blossoming psychedelics industry, and the fact that there is concern about some of that being potentially exploited at the cost of users or patients or folks that are actually interested in really engaging with that work in a meaningful way. So I think the general, independent of the fact that it's crypto or the fact that it's a DAO, I think the things that are really resonating are more. Beyond that, it's a community of folks with a diverse set of interests that want to work together to really make sure that that knowledge and that information is accessible and sort of democratically brought to patients in a way that is fair. And these messages have been really, really well received. So yeah, we're really excited and hope to be able to support the Beckley Foundation and the work of Amanda Fielding. We're evaluating a couple of different them at the moment. So stay tuned to hear a bit more.
Thank you, Tyler. We also, I see Adam is actually on the call, but however, I think he's at a wedding. So thanks for joining, Adam. I won't put you on the spotlight. But yeah, feel free to raise your hands if there are any more questions. About how you can get involved in one of these DAOs, or perhaps what they're working on, or any of the regulatory questions or anything. We've got John Cumbers, who also just requested to speak. So yeah, we'll be after that.
Hey, can you hear me okay? I seem to be having some trouble with the audio cutting in and out.
Yeah, we can hear you, and thanks, John.
Well, that's super weird. I can see some emojis saying that people can hear me, but I can't hear any responses. But let me say what I was going to say. Albert looped me into the world of ValleyDAO and DeSci. My name's John Cumbers, and I'm the founder of SynBio Beta, and we're an activity hub for synthetic biology entrepreneurs and investors. And first, I'd like to say just how wonderful it is to meet this community and to see interesting innovation happening at the intersection of science and funding and Web3. I'm a believer, and I think that this community has a huge amount of potential to completely upend the whole process of funding and doing science. My question is for you, Albert, and I'm still kind of getting my head around ValleyDAO and the potential that it has. And I wondered if you could give a couple of example projects, dream projects that you would have for ValleyDAO, because I can see a lot of potential for kind of crowd-funded infrastructure or crowd-funded tools, things like genetic tools, open source libraries of genetic parts, or infrastructure like fermentation facilities in particular places. Like you could have cloud kitchens or ghost kitchens, you could have the same for fermentation facilities, something like that. So I wonder if you could give a couple of examples for ValleyDAO of what you'd like to see, the kinds of projects.
Yeah, absolutely. This is quite a tricky question. Oh, sorry, John. Could you just also mute, because I'm hearing myself? Thank you. It's a difficult question because there's so much that you can do with SynBio and biomanufacturing. But I mean, to start off, I would love to see, and this is actually one of our pipeline projects, but some form of novel bioreactor design. That's an area that hasn't been innovated within in a very long time. And we keep coming back to this question of scaling, that it's really hard to scale up biology, and it's really hard to bring the capex down so that it makes sense to start selling biomanufactured textiles or fuels or foods and so on. But we're getting closer and closer, and you can see with like Ameris, a company who's been around for 20 years, finally getting to the point where it makes economical sense and they have revenues. But some form of novel bioreactor design that is also has some element of standardization, so it is compatible with different parts. People can plug and play, and it doesn't have to cost kind of like a fortune to buy a reactor. You can kind of like buy separate parts and put it together yourself. So that's one idea, and one of the projects that we have in the pipeline, who is together with a really brilliant guy. I would call him a biomanufacturing magician. He's doing everything by himself. He has his own lab space and everything, and the creativity is enormous. So that's more on infrastructure. I would also love to see the application of non-model organisms. So other organisms than just E. coli and yeast that are like the main conventional organisms used in all industrial processes. And there's such a wide range of organisms all over the world, and we keep discovering new ones all the time. And finding those strains bringing to the lab and testing them out. I recently spoke with a guy around a month ago. He reminds me kind of like an Indiana Jones. He travels to to Antarctica to sample certain algae strains that we've never seen before, but that have a very specialized property to extract certain enzymes that can be used in very cold industrial processes. And yeah, I mean, it's I think that's all I can think about right now. That would be kind of like dream projects, but even if everyone else has some idea of what they would like to see with SynBio, and particularly biomanufacturing for climate improvement, please let us know. I mean, we're always looking for researchers that we can collaborate with and potentially fund through the DAO.
Thanks, Albert.
Yeah, Hamza, I see your hand is also up. Would you like to add something or ask a question?
So I have a separate question, actually, if we have a couple of minutes left. I have a question for AthenaDAO, so Laura here and other co-founders if they're present. So I'm trying to understand what does VC funding look like right now as far as female health goes, and if it's less than male health, why that is. And maybe this is too broad a question, and Laura can first help me refine this question and then answer that refined question. So I'm actually not looking for a very specific answer, but just some insight into maybe some numbers or I suspect that one of the goals of doing AthenaDAO is to fund underfunded female health areas. So just looking for some insight here.
Hey, Hamza. So everything is underfunded. There's just not one area. Just to give you some numbers, and it's not just researchers. Researchers at the NIH, female researchers get 24% less than their male counterparts. Digital health, only 3% goes to femtech of all investments. And when we are talking about actual research, we're talking like for phase 1 trials, women make up only usually 22% of the subjects in the trials. So even though women are half the population, they're only getting like a quarter of like data. We're only getting quarter of the data from them. And this is not just in research, but last year, even though it was a very frothy market, women received only 2% of the total of venture capital funding. So, I mean, I cannot answer for the VCs. We have some great conversations, some people that are very excited about it, but one thing is being excited and another thing is actually getting the check. So I'll let you know how that goes when we do have some early interest in funding. And I think people realize that this is a huge area that has to be tackled. Obviously, it's so huge, you have to be very specific as to what you're going to tackle first. For us, is building the pipeline of research projects in tandem with the community. And by the community, we mean both the researchers and women that could be interested. The reason Web3 and decentralized science is so exciting is because, as I said, I saw the example of longevity, which is usually underfunded unless billionaires want to put money into it. And it's an area that has been kind of like the black sheep of the family when it came to biotech. But women kind of find themselves in that situation. I do hope that there's as many billionaires want to put more money into this. If anything, decentralized science and onboarding community that could be interested in pushing funding ahead will make the biggest difference. And this is one of the reasons why we thought this had to exist, especially as you see guys here. Most of the coolest guys is mostly men. And that's like a problem of Web3 and tech in general. It's mostly men, and women make up half of the population. So we need to figure out systems and ways in which we can interest them, make them part of the conversation, and have them participate. So I don't know if that was like also too broad an answer, Hamza.
Oh yeah, every broad question requires a broad answer. So good job, Laura. Thanks.
Thanks. Hi, Drake. I wanted to mention that Ines and Sandra from the core team are here. I don't know if they want to speak or say something. It'll be great to also say some, if they want to participate, I'd love to have them.
Yeah, feel free to request to speak, ladies. Ines, Sandra. I think there is still space. Let me just double check. I might need to kick someone. But we did have Karina also raise her hand. And just from a quick count, I've just counted like just over a quarter of, I think like 33% of people on this call are female. So it's looking better than I think Web3 statistics, which I think is like at 20% or something. So
Yay,
DeSci.
DeSci.
Yeah, you can also kick me in a minute because I just have a really quick comment. And yeah, DeSci definitely is a little bit more diverse. I've noticed that as well. But in general, like speaking to the point of diversity and inclusion, I just wanted to flag, like, especially when you bring up the topic of Discord and you're launching these DAOs, especially that are supposed to be like, around like, if you're focusing on the topic of like women's reproductive health, Discord in general is just a platform that's not very inclusive, right? So if you're looking to get in front of more like a broader audience, it's just something to keep in mind for your community calls. Like I would really look at doing them elsewhere, just in general. Also, like if you're looking to get more of the scientific community into this, if you're looking to get more women into this, like Discord is just not the place. I think most of Web3.
That's why we're doing our call on Zoom, Karina, because our two science leads said that Discord was just not the best way. So we're trying different platforms. And eventually when we have funding, we're also going to go to Instagram because that's where women do like to go. It's not even necessarily Twitter, but for sure, I am 1,000%. That's why I mentioned that. I do not love Discord because it's just not conducive for everyone. And we're testing a lot of platforms. But if you want to join to help us with that, that would be amazing because I feel like you're saying a lot of the things that we feel very strong about.
Yeah, okay, cool. I just wanted to throw in my voice there because, it's been driving me nuts and I'm always looking for new platforms. And in general, community calls, you can do them anywhere. Zoom, is cool. Meets is cool. Any platform, any mainstream platform is great. And then you could connect it to Discord so people in Discord can like still watch it or like whatever Twitter space is. But like, awesome. I can make room for someone else to come up, but that's really good to hear. And anyway, I'm going to see if I can contribute in some way.
Yes, please. I love those ideas, and we're looking for women that are interested, and also to even say this, to say, hey, it's not going to work this way, because we want to really get women involved, and we not necessarily be able to use the same tools that are traditional to this system, or to quote unquote traditional, or that we're using so much.
Yeah, Karina, there is still one space left, so no worries. But yeah, I saw that you're also organizing Regen Berlin. Or Regens Unite Berlin. So sounds interesting. I don't know. From the title, I can guess what it is, but I might see you there. So also like excited to see you join the ecosystem. And if you're new, welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much. That's actually not why I joined this call for the record, but I happen to be based in Berlin and I love the DeSci crew here. And organizing, one of the core organizers for Regens Unite Berlin, which we're doing during ETH Berlin and Berlin Blockchain Week, where we're bringing DeSci together with ReFi, with DAOs, with co-ops, with climate activists to talk about all kinds of different topics around building regenerative systems. So DeSci is like a big part of that.
That's great to hear. And I just got a message from Albert. Go ahead with a question. I think we can take 2 or 3 more questions.
Yeah, I know we're running over time, but just wanted to put it out there that we're aiming to co-organize kind of like a DeSci themed subsection of the next SynBio Beta conference. So you heard John speak before. He's the founder of the conference, and we would love to invite people people who are interested in being part of a panel discussion or go on stage and have a keynote talk, whatever that could be. And we also have this ambition of getting George Church and Balaji in a panel and with a third person. So if you're connected to Balaji and you would like to see him talk next to George Church, please let us know. That would be amazing to see. So it's taking place in San Francisco next year in May 23rd to the 25th, around that time. Yeah, that's really all I had to say. And actually, I wanted to also ask a question to Laura, and you probably answered this in many forms, but what have you found works the best when it comes to onboarding women to Web3? Because that's something that we also want to get better at ValleyDAO. So please, reveal your secrets or your insights on this matter.
So, Albert, I'm not an expert of onboarding women at Web3. I do know that there's a lot of active Web3 communities with NFTs, very successful with women there. So they've obviously done a big part of the work. But I guess our mission is trying to onboard women into DeSci and Web3 from a different perspective. And that would be from something that I do believe matters to all women, which is our health. In our pitch deck, we have a page dedicated to the stories that all of us have shared. Anytime I speak to a woman about this project, they talk about something that they have dealt with or are currently dealing with because of their reproductive health. So we think that this is a great way to get a community going. We might have to go Web 2 a bit, meaning using tools that are more like we just discussed it with Karina here, stuff like I said, Instagram or events. We're going to go very heavy on the education, on being able to give access to world-class researchers, on doing in-person events where we do have these researchers and really make them understand that this is partly because of Web3 and decentralized science, that the mechanisms that are in place through this ecosystem can enable this, and that way make the connection from Web3, their health, their education, tools or access into how this is all enabled by Web3. We'll be happy to run things in conjunction with the other DAOs, with PsyDAO, with you guys, even though it's more, obviously, it's a bit, the disconnect is a bit there because you're actually, as Hamza said, dealing with something on the outside. But I think it's very important also that all the DAOs collaborate and share as much of their networks for us to all grow. And I mean, in all fairness, with all of us being part of somewhat related to either Molecule or VitaDAO, it shows that the system can propagate itself. It's just then extending it more. And I hope that answered your question. But happy to discuss any of the tools that we work out at Albert to get more women involved in Web3 and particularly DeSci.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I mean, I don't think we don't need to see a limiting factor in that we're working on different verticals of technologies. I think when it comes to this question, it's quite a common, theme, despite which DAO you're working on and so on. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, there's so much happening. Too much to cover in 1 hour, as you can all see. The one thing I'm really excited about and working on together with Thilo Whitting is heading up the DeSci Podcast, where we just recently had Balaji and some other big guests planned. I would encourage everyone to just I think Twitter is the best way to stay up to date. Create a list. It can be overwhelming sometimes, but if you create a list or join the DeSci communities on Twitter, or some groups that aggregate DeSci news. There's Jocelyn, for example, is launching a DeSci newsletter soon. And there's a couple of DeSci roundups already going out there, and we're also planning on doing a newsletter with an ecosystem roundup soon. A lot of IP-NFTs in the pipeline, a lot of DAOs in the pipeline. We've got BioXYZ, which will be Molecule's launchpad for BioDAOs. There's just so much to unpack, and we're all really excited for DeSci. I think it's the fastest growing space that I've ever seen, with the amount of BioDAOs popping up like mushrooms and high quality ones. With that, seeing that we are over time, if there's no other questions, I think we'll end the call here. And yeah, we'll be doing these types of spaces, I think, every 5 weeks or so for now, until we have more contributors leading community and leading awareness and education, and we'll be doing panels and as with all the DAOs. So yeah, I'd like to end it there, and thanks everyone for joining. It was really fun and really enjoyed hearing from all of you. And yeah, we'll see you all on Twitter and Discord and on Zoom and wherever you choose to host your community calls. Thanks everyone.
Thank you so much.
Ciao, Laura. Bye.